Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. If you watched the previous video, I installed the water line to where it's going to come out in the house. Today, I need to install, well, I need to build it first. I need to build and install the riser pipe. Alright, I'm about ready to cut the pipe. I already ripped my foam to width, and what this is going to do is create a box. I have some foam adhesive, and I'm going to try my best. This would go on top here, and then once this is installed, we'll have these open corners here. I'm going to see if I can jam some fiberglass down there, but it's not all that important. All right, let me get the pipe cut, and then we'll take it over into the garage area and get it assembled. Before I cut that, I should show you my buffalo grass. That is some beautiful stuff. This area is not going to get cut. That's why we wanted buffalo grass here, and that's what it looks like naturally. Those are other native grasses right there, the tall stuff. Big blue stem, little blue stem, yada, yada, yada. All right, let's get this cut. Okay, here's my plan. Got a couple boards right here. I plan to put those across the top of this once I get everything glued up. It's not going to be perfect. I do have big zip ties that I could put around the whole thing and zip tie it, but those are going to crush this pretty bad. So what I'm thinking is if I just get my glue on there, and I cut these a 1/16 oversize so that the pipe is not going to be pushing it out. Get that lined up, put my boards on there, put some weight on it once it's all glued up, and we should be good to go. It needs to be flush down here. Everything needs to be flush down here. And then up at the top, that part is going to go through the insulation that's under the building. And then finally, the pipe is going to come up through the floor. There's enough length for all that. So, oh, and this part of it is going to go up against the grade beam. And then one of the sides is going to go right up against a joist. The joists aren't there, but the grade beam is. So what I'm going to do is once this is all glued up, I'll get it in place in the hole and foam the bottom, and then just strap it in place with a big zip tie. Hopefully that'll work. A zip tie or whatever it takes to get it strapped in place. All right, let me go find the glue, and we'll start gluing this up. Okay, so this foam board adhesive takes 7 days to cure, but I'm going to leave this in this clamping situation for a day. I'll come back here tomorrow, take this out of the clamps, and we'll get it installed then. The glue is plenty good after 24 hours, but it does take a full 7 days to cure. So in the meantime, there's a couple other things I need to do. The first thing is to make a jig for installing this. It's going to go, well, it's going to go right in here somewhere. I have that all on the drawings. So what I'll do is measure out from the building and install my jig right where it's going. Then when that's dry, we'll install the pipe right to that jig. In 2 or 3 days, the jig is going to come off and we'll have the framework in place, and it'll be installed to both the grade board and one of the joists right here. But until that time, I have to install it to something, and that'll be that jig. I was thinking one of the things I needed to do was start backfilling, but that's not really the case. I think I'm just going to wait until the riser is installed. So what I need to do is measure out from the building to where one of the joists is going to go, and that should be right in here somewhere, but I have that all on the drawings. And what I'll do is make a jig that goes on top of this and then drops down into here, and we'll attach the riser to that until we get around to putting the framework in here. That'll just be probably 3 or 4 days, but this needs to be attached securely while everything's backfilled. I want this pipe to be down the center of that riser, and it'll be really hard to do that if it's not attached to something. So let's go make that, and we'll get that installed right away. So what I'm going to do is take this scrap piece of 2x8 and cut it to length. I came up with 13 1/16, and we're going to have a notch in here about 2 inches high, and then it's going to come down, and this will hang over the edge of that grade beam, and I'll throw a couple screws in here, and the outside will be right at the thickness of that riser pipe, so I can screw something onto the end of it to push the riser up against the grade beam. I'll show you in a second. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so what this is going to do is go on there like that. I'll put a couple screws through the top, and it'll be in the exact position of the joist that's going to be there later. It's actually going to go over here, but pay that no, never mind. And that'll hold everything real nice and tight. I'll get the bottom foamed, and then we can start backfilling. Yeah, I got to get these ground rods in here. Tons of stuff to do. Okay, I'll get back with you tomorrow when the riser pipe is dry and ready to install. Okay, it's the next day, and I'm getting ready to put the riser pipe in, and I kind of changed how I want to do it. Originally, I was going to connect it up here, and it's just going to free float a little bit above the foam down there, and I was going to take some foam and fill around that, and that would make the connection. I don't want like a hard connection, and that would have a little bit of flexibility. But then I got to thinking, well, what if water went down the pipe? I should actually just have that pipe flush with the bottom of the cabinet, and that way I could make it into a drain of sorts. So what I did was cut an opening in the foam down there. It doesn't really need it. It would drain out at the bottom anyways, as long as I don't put any of that foam on it. But what I'm going to do now is suspend the pipe, the riser pipe, exactly like I wanted to before, and then I'll just drop some of this washed gravel down it and fill, just a couple inches of the bottom, and then put the washed gravel around the bottom, and that should act as a drain. If we ever get a leak, it'll drain into that and then travel down under the foam and into the sand down there. I'm going to put a leak detector in there that'll detect water, And in a little bit, I'm going to install a temperature probe. The temperature probe is going to go down there somewhere, and the leads are going to come out into the cabinet. I don't have a permanent readout at this time, but I can plug it into my temperature sensor and get an idea what the temperature is down here during the winter. I'll go over all that stuff as I'm doing it, but what I really wanted to show you right now is that I opened up the foam and filled that with gravel. That goes through both layers of foam down to the sand. Now I got to take this off and put my cleat on, and then we can put that riser pipe in place. Okay, now it's time to unclamp this. This right here is the temperature probe. I have another one on my hydrant over there. Let me show you that real quick. This is the hydrant in the shop, and here is the connection for the probe. The probe goes down all the way underneath the styrofoam, and this probe is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to put this probe on the pipe about halfway up the riser. Like I said, the riser is going to be open inside the cabinet, so air from the building will be able to get down into the riser. So the temperature at about halfway should tell me about what the temperature is in the entire pipe. I could put this temperature probe wherever I want to, and on the wood shop I have it down below the foam. I just wanted to see what the temperature got to down below the foam, and that's probably, oh yeah, actually that's a little bit shallower than this, but on this one I have it maybe 10 inches below the ground level, and I want to see what temperature that gets. I have a real good temperature probe, so I can take the temperature down inside the hole with that, and I can also drop another probe down as far as the bottom of the riser pipe and get some different temperatures. I don't think any of this is going to freeze. I just want to know how cold it's getting down there. All right, let's get that riser pipe in place and get it clamped, and then I got to do a little bit of foaming, and then we'll start backfilling. Okay, this is in, and I took my flashlight and shined it down there, and the pipe itself is dead center in the middle of the riser pipe. And the reason for that is that the frost, well, this building up until right here, it's exposed to the air. So the top of this tube, it's going to be inside of a cabinet and cut off flush with the floor of the cabinet, and it's going to be open to the air from the building. So the air from the building will be able to get all the way down until the bottom down there. And this, the water, so between the water in the tube here and the air from the building being able to get around the tube and the insulation on here, we should have plenty of it should be plenty insulated and never freeze. I can also put like a little computer fan, mount it right here somewhere so that it blows air down in there. That should be, but it should be fine. That's why I have those temperature probes. Yeah, I got to pull that one up out of there. Where is it? Here it is. That's why I have the temperature probe in there, to see what it does. I'll wait until a really cold day, like 20 below or 40 below, and see what the temperature is all the way down to the bottom. I can actually pull the temperature probe up and keep reading the temperature and get a good idea of what it's doing. But I don't think this will ever freeze as long as the building's heated. So the level of the ground will be right here, and between that and the top of this foam is going to be under the building. Then we have joists on top of that, and those are going to be insulated with rock wool insulation. And then this will come up 4 inches into the cabinet and then be flush with the bottom. And like I was talking about before, I'm going to use this as like an emergency drain. If we get a little leak, any water will probably go down this and into the gravel down there. It's not like a foolproof design as a drain or anything like that. It's just an added precaution. As long as this is going to be here, it might as well act like a drain if water ever gets into the bottom of the cabinet. A little bit about this foam right here before we start backfilling. The reason for this foam, it not only adds a little bit of width to the insulation down there, but what it does is locks in with the sides of the trench and the foam. This foam curves to match the bottom of the trench, and now that that's foamed up, it's basically locked in place. Okay, now for the backfill. I'm using some nice fine fill that I found on the back side of this hill right there. I want to get this stuff filled as much as it takes to get this locked into place. I really don't want this part backfilled with the backhoe, so when he comes to backfill, I'll have him stop right in here, and that way I can fill in the rest of this by hand. If I try to fill this all in by hand right now, it's just going to keep running downhill. So I'll get everything locked in place, and that's going to be it for today. Okay, I probably don't need this, but I figured while I'm here, I might as well get it done. What I did was take a square of landscape fabric, poked a hole in the middle, slid it down over the riser pipe, and I put 2 zip ties on it, got it nice and tight up against the pipe. There's a gap between this riser pipe and the saddle down there, and I don't want this fine clay and or sand filling up that saddle down there. So I just did that while I have the chance. Now I'm going to continue backfilling. I have 6 inches to a foot in here over all of the foam so far, and I want to get this area filled a little bit more. Then I'm going to get these 2 ground rods pounded in, and that will be it for this, I think. Unless I think of something else along the way. Okay, I did quite a bit of digging in this area. I forgot to mention that this is going to get foam laying flat on the ground. It's going to be dug into the ground though, but it's going to be about flush with the ground, and then it's going to be covered, but that's going to happen much later. I'm not doing that now. We we have an electric line that cuts right through the corner of it and goes over to the pedestal, and then we have another electric line that comes right through this corner of it. So that stuff can't be done today, but while I was backfilling this trench, I thought, well, geez, it'll be a lot easier to just loosen this stuff up. This is all gravel here. Loosen it up with the digging rod and then rake it into the ditch here. So that's what I did. Okay, I am probably gonna leave this right where it is, and then our guy will come and backfill this whole thing, and then once it's all backfilled, he has to cut that trench going to the pedestal over there. That's going to be 2 feet deep. I'm going to dig the other one by hand. So that's going to wrap up the riser portion of the shallow water line. Yeah, this foam that lays flat here and it goes 2 feet out, what that does is acts like snow cover, and it keeps the frost from penetrating as deep as it would. And being 2 feet out, the frost penetrates at an angle. It's hard to explain. I get all this stuff from buildingscience.com. If you want to check out buildingscience.com, they have all kinds of stuff about this kind of thing. We actually built our house according to design criteria from building.com or buildingscience.com. Our house is a frost protected shallow foundation, and it has foam coming out 2 feet around the entire perimeter except for the corners where it comes out 4 feet. And then we have 2 inches of foam insulation covering the entire outside, and then 2x6 walls with R21 insulation in those. Very well insulated. But like I said, that's going to wrap up this video. The next video, what will the next video be on? I can't really tell you for sure. I don't think I'm going to do a video on doing this electric work, so you'll have to tune in to see what video is next. So if you want to see that mystery video, make sure you subscribe and click on the update icon. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comment section below. And if you share the video and or give it a like, it helps the channel out greatly. Thanks for watching and have a great day.